Think, Live, Be production.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da. Seeking the best, seeking the best, seeking the best, best, best,
Welcome to Seeking the Best. This is the podcast for growth-minded real estate agents seeking clarity, focus, and a better way forward. I'm your host, Kathryn, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Patrick Vitica, our sound engineer, producer extraordinaire.
Good morning, everybody.
You never get tired of me saying sound engineer, producer extraordinaire?
Do you ever get sick of me saying good morning?
Sometimes.
Oh.
Maybe today.
Oh, damn.
Maybe today I was like, no, not again. It's not morning.
That's what happens when she opens her eyes in the morning. I'm just staring at her.
He's like, good morning. Yeah. No, it's more the other way around.
I know.
I wake up and then I'm like, hello.
I know.
Anyways, yeah, we are back from our vacation.
Yep.
We took a mini...
Anyone who listened to last week's episode knows we recorded from North Carolina, and now we are back in sunny Winter Park. Yeah. And
that's
here
in
we go.
Florida, for those of you that don't know. We're based in Orlando, Florida, and
yes.
Winter Park is where we live, but it's just right outside.
Yep.
And yeah, we are back and better than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Refreshed.
You know,
we were only gone for like a week.
It was a week.
And we have things to do when we're there because we own a couple properties. So there's chores to get them kind of back.
It's not like a vacation where we're like going and doing stuff.
Everything's turned off and stuff. There's work to do. We recorded a podcast.
And I find that I have a moment because everybody else thinks you're on vacation.
Yeah.
And so I find that I have time to think about things,
big picture stuff,
big picture stuff that sometimes that day-to-day minutia gets in the way of.
You can almost feel guilty working on big picture stuff when there's so many like day-to-day things that have to happen. But when you're in a different town, there's no choice really. And people think you're on vacation, which you are. And
we had some nice downtime too.
Yeah.
But I like to go away because it gives me a chance to actually get some work done.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're back though, and I am feeling refreshed and ready to get things started. And we're continuing our series. We've basically, the first chunk of the year, we talked about time and everything about time, the asset of time. And I love that topic. But this new season, we've been talking about lessons that I've learned. And it's been fun kind of thinking back to, all of the things that I've done wrong and trying to really outline which ones were the biggest lessons that I've,
that you actually took something away and applied it to the business so that never happens again.
Yeah. Because I got stories, funny and stupid and difficult people. We all, like, if you sell real estate for long enough, you realize that crazy people buy and sell houses too.
Yeah.
And you get to work with some of them. So you end up with stories the more you deal and interact with people. But there are a lot of things that I've done over the years that I look back and say, well, that was a mistake. But I don't look at it like, well, that was a mistake and I regret it. I look back and say, well, that was something that I wish I could have done differently, but I didn't have the skills or knowledge or experience to do it differently.
Yeah.
But it gave me that experience to then say, hey, I need to change XYZ. And I have, and I've improved over time and changed how I do things. And I hope that I can impart like a little bit of that knowledge and skill to other people who maybe haven't had the same experience yet, but you will if you don't listen to my and heed my warning.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, fun, but only fun now because it's in the past. While it's happening, it's for the farthest from fun. What do they say? time plus tragedy equals comedy. Right. So as these things are happening, not fun at all, but looking back on them and seeing what lessons were kind of taken away can be a fun trip down memory lane.
It can be.
So do you have anything for us this week?
Sure do.
Okay. Do you want to tell me a story?
I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
It was a typical Sunday afternoon, and I had an open house. I've done many open houses over the years. This one, I remember distinctly where I was sitting and what open house I was going into, because it was this beautiful historic home, 2-story, kind of like Mediterranean style, near downtown Orlando. And it had these arches, like kind of an arched front porch downstairs, and it was just a beautiful old house. It was kind of on this cul-de-sac that dead-ended into a lake that you could actually see the skyline of downtown at the end of the cul-de-sac. And so I remember getting the news as I was driving down this street to the end and making the circle in the cul-de-sac. And the news was that this other listing that I had, this cute little bungalow that had gone under contract very quickly, that the other agent had called to let me know that, or emailed, I can't remember how he communicated with me, but he had let me know that the buyer was backing out and sent a release and cancellation. No, hey, will you fix this? Or can we have more money off the sales price? Just a straight up cancellation. And I remember getting that news as I was circling the cul-de-sac to park in front of the beautiful house I was about to do an open house. And I thought in that moment that I needed to let the seller know. Like, it felt urgent. It certainly was important. Like, the deal we had was falling through and it was important, but it felt so urgent. And so before I went inside to unpack and set up my open house, I sent an email to the seller from my car to let him know that it was being canceled and sending him the release and cancellation. And I don't remember the specific email, but I'm sure I crafted a professional email that I thought was tactful and showed empathy and all the things you want to do when you're letting somebody have some bad news. And I sent it off. And then I went into my open house. I even remember the open house. Like, I remember the people that came in. I don't know. Like, this was definitely like a core real estate memory for me for some reason. But I remember like not really thinking much of it. I thought I'd let him know, and I would reach out to him again. I wasn't just going to like send the email, but I was doing my open house. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I just wanted to let him know quickly. I didn't want to leave him hanging. And so by the time I got out of my open house, I had missed calls and voicemails from this seller who was very angry.
Why did you say anything? Why wouldn't you just call me? I don't know what's happening. Where were you? I tried to
And
call you
he
a bunch
was
of times.
angry because, well, primarily because the deal had fallen apart. And let's call him Michael. Michael was so upset, and he wanted to know what my strategy was to try to get these people to stay engaged and to get them to renegotiate. Like, could I get them to, just take a credit or blah, 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 whatever Michael was thinking was going to happen. And in my experience, up to that point and still to this day, I say when someone sends you a release and cancellation and they don't ask for anything, they're done. You're not going to convince them to stay in contract. They would have asked for something if there was something that would have made them do that. But it didn't matter to Michael because he was just upset and he wanted to vent and yell. And so I listened to him vent and yell.
I tried to call you.
Eventually the conversation was done, and he had tasked me with going back to this other agent and trying to renegotiate. That did not work, just as I suspected. And they did ultimately cancel. And we went back on the market. I was very upset at the way that Michael had treated me, because up to that point in my career, I've had, there's, again, you sell enough real estate and there's crazy people out there, but for the most part, I'd had good client experiences from my perspective and from theirs. They were all very happy, and I had a good track record of success. And so it was the first time somebody was really yelling at me. I thought about it through the weekend and was I need to have a conversation with him and make sure that we're on the same page moving forward, because that's not gonna work for me to get yelled at like that. And so I made arrangements to talk to him on that Monday, and I let Michael know that in order for us to move forward working together, we're going to have to be civil, and yelling and raising your voice and talking like that does not help a situation. And I explained to him that I would like to move forward. I'm confident that we will get the house sold. And I was right, of course. It went back under contract very quickly, and that sold for over asking price. And I remember him saying, throughout that conversation, he was well, you're great at marketing, and I like you, and blah, blah, blah. And he was trying to compliment me, but he was still so upset about the fact that I had offered no strategy to try to get that deal done. I think about that story, and what I learned in that moment was I don't really think he didn't think that there was strategy. I think that the problem was that I did not talk to him on the phone and provide context. I'm sure there was some bit of it in the email, but the reality was they were backing out because the garage was completely termite ridden. There were active termites. It was practically falling down, and they didn't want to deal with that. There wasn't strategy that was going to overcome that situation. And I think that if I had picked up the phone instead of rushing off an email, we would have had a conversation about the situation. I could have provided more context to make sure he actually heard it too. People don't read those emails sometimes. You think you've crafted this beautiful email and it's, 6 pages long and nobody reads it. And I could have set expectations about what was going to happen next, and all the things that can happen when you have a back and forth conversation, instead of just dropping kind of a bomb on somebody and then going into an open house. I changed the way that I deliver bad news from that moment forward. But when I think about why that happened, I actually can go back in time, rewind 3 years before that. And I was selling a house, cute little bungalow. We put it under contract, and I remember where we were because I was working out of our little guest house at our first home. And the first deal fell through, and I called and delivered the bad news. No big deal. I mean, the seller was not happy, but he understood, and we moved on to find another deal. And then the second contract fell apart.
This did not happen.
And I had to call and deliver the bad news. And I remember calling because I have a tendency to pace around when I'm on the phone. So when we lived at that house, I would just pace around the back patio by our little guest house door. I would just pace back and forth. And then we put it under contract again. And the third buyer lost his job at the last second, and the deal fell through. And I remember sitting in that office back there and saying to myself, oh my gosh, this is terrible news. I do not want to have to call and deliver this news. And I told myself, just rip the Band-Aid off, just do it. And so I picked up the phone, I called the seller, told him the bad news. And we had a conversation. And I remember him saying something to the effect of like, I know this is terrible, but thank you so much for continuing your hard work and finding another buyer, and I'm confident that you'll get it sold.
I'm really confident you'll get it.
What a different reaction. But was it really Michael? 3 years later? Was it his personality? Perhaps. But I actually think what happened was I was a solo agent. I was busy, but I was on my own. I had my systems in place that I was doing. And fast forward 3 years later, and I had started to grow a team. I had other team members that I was responsible for and training them and trying to figure things out. And I was busy. I was slammed. And so in that moment, I felt I needed to deliver that urgent news to Michael while at the same time not really having time to do it. And that led to him not having the same reaction as the other gentleman 3 years before, after I delivered even worse news to him.
Yes, ripping off the Band-Aid. I remember saying that. I remember, especially in the bad times of when you had first started, through those first few years of short sales and where lots of stuff could go wrong and people are underwater and stuff, and you're new, and so you haven't had tons of experience in not just experience in real estate, but experience with having tough conversations with people.
Yeah.
And stuff, and using that saying all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Because sometimes, listen, it's not all fun and games. It's not all smiles and keys, and like there are things that don't work out the way people want them to. The more experience you end up with. Now this kind of thing now is not an issue with Kathryn and telling people. She still doesn't want to have to give bad news. Nobody does, right? But it's not a stressful pacing around sort of thing. And I think that there does come when you're first starting out, it's a lot easier to get emotionally attached to the outcome, to things, to such a degree that you're feeling the anxiety and that you feel bad and you feel all of this stuff. The more you do it, the less attached to the outcome, less emotionally attached to the deal you become, to where you can provide the facts, give advice when it's asked of you, and move on with your day. Let me also just say on that note, because I do not believe that buyers and sellers want our emotion mixed in. Like that's not what you're here to do.
And I can speak as somebody who's not a real estate agent saying, I see that too much.
Yeah. People get, we as agents, we do have, there is a result we're looking for, just like the buyer and seller. And so it can be frustrating when things aren't going the way you want them to. And that's not what clients want, though. They want steady, objective, not subjective. Mm-hmm. I have to bite my tongue to not sometimes say something when you're dealing with another co-op agent and they're just very difficult, or they're causing the problems that are existing. I bite my tongue, and the other person they have no idea what's really going on behind the scenes. Yeah. For two reasons. Number one, I'm not going to talk bad about other people. That's unprofessional. But number two, that's not what they want.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like a release in the moment to complain about something that's going on so that they feel like, oh, okay, I get it. You're not actually giving them what they want. What they want is a solution. Just like Michael said, I want a strategy.
Yeah.
Now, in that moment, the strategy was we're going to get it back on the market and go find a new buyer.
Yeah.
Who doesn't care that there's termites?
Michael didn't understand. Yeah, well, I mean, that could be the strategy. Get your house treated for termites and get everything sister boarded together, and then we'll get it back on the market. He didn't understand what strategy meant. He thought strategy was something he saw on TV where you go in and strong arm the other agent until they feel defeated, and then I guess the buyers go, okay, I guess we'll buy the house. Like he wasn't based on anything. It was just
he was
anger.
just upset.
Yeah.
That I dropped a bomb on him, and then and
then he walked away.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Sunday afternoon, boom. And then I'm unreachable for a couple hours.
Right.
Now, I've learned lots of lessons through this. Number one is never deliver bad news in email or text. Never, ever, never, ever.
Yeah.
You pick up the phone and call. And yes, guess what? Sometimes they're not going to answer. Don't leave it on a voicemail. It's just as bad. Because you need to be able to provide that back and forth context.
There's going to be a back and forth.
They might have questions. And then if you drop a bomb and they can't get their questions answered, what happens?
Yeah.
They start talking to other people. Mm-hmm. Their partner, spouse, they get, that pillow talk. Who knows what's happening?
Yeah.
Their parents, their friends who sold last year and had an amazing experience, they start talking to other people and getting their perspective when they have no idea what's going on. They start looking things up online. This is even more important with the dawn of AI and the ability to go and pump in, like they could take your literal text message or email.
How do I reply to this?
Right.
What does this really mean? People don't.
What's my agent doing wrong?
Yeah. And not knowing how to properly prompt AI and not realizing that, you got to take everything with a grain of salt and all of the things. Yeah. It used to be Yahoo Answers, right? So you go on Google back in the day.
Search.
Kathryn would go on a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, and the people would have a list of questions, and it's like, you got this right off of like Quora, like questions to ask your agent. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, and I still get those. You can always tell when somebody's done that. I don't mind people preparing for something with questions and stuff, but listen, here's how you avoid this situation.
They can't get to the AI.
You get their questions answered before they need to go in there.
Right.
And by the way, again, that's what they want too, is they don't actually want to go and they don't actually want ChatGPT to be smarter than their agent, but they go seek out those things when they feel a moment of how did this happen and frustration. And
they already have a bunch of anxiety, whether they're buying a house or selling a house. There's already tons of things that are attached to that.
Yeah.
Right. So and if they can't get a hold of you after you dropped a bomb on them.
Yeah.
Right. So, what else are they supposed to do?
So there's a lot of reasons that the phone call works better. It allows you to have that back and forth conversation. So there's kind of a framework for it, really, is like, number one, when you get them on the phone, get straight to the point of it. Don't say, how's your day going?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have some bad news for you.
Ugh.
No. So this is something, and I never really did that because I'm not much for small talk.
No, but I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Like maybe not with real estate, but with other things. I've had people say those things.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, by the way, this isn't going to be there until next week or whatever. Yeah. Like they're trying to soften it. Don't soften it. Get direct and to the point. That's what they want too.
Yeah. Well, if you soften it, what's the reason for that? What's the reason to soften it? What would people say? Well, because I don't want them to feel bad. Well, they're going to feel bad no matter what, first of all. And second of all, you're dealing in emotions.
Well, right. The way you make someone feel good about a situation is to be direct to the point and then immediately tell them what's going to happen next. Right. How are we going to get over this?
Have a solution to the problem. Before they can ask you, well, now what do we do? I
think I actually got really good at this. I'm just thinking about this as we're talking. I think I got really good at delivering bad news during COVID because it was if you were selling real estate during those times where the market was booming, I mean, there was like 30 or 40 offers on a deal. I mean, I think probably the most was like 60. That's 59 people that didn't get that house. Now, I also work with buyers. And so I would have to tell people, like, after the fourth or fifth time, we still didn't get their offer accepted, not because they weren't trying everything they could, but that was just the market that we were in. And like, they were doing all the right things, but somebody else had a stronger down payment or what, you know, credit score, or promised their
firstborn child
or whatever. Or waived the appraisal contingency, or waived their inspections, which is dumb. And there's things that were happening that you can only do so much. You give them you arm them with the information, and it's their decision to make on how they're going to proceed with the offer. And so I was having to deliver bad news on that side constantly.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, listings, like delivering bad news to other agents all the time. Now I didn't, and that didn't, because I'll get into this in a second. When there's 60 offers or 30 offers or 40 offers, there's not the ability to call every agent.
Yeah. And every agent's going to want, well, what if we do? If we do?
And so sometimes it was like a little bit of avoidance. Like, no, there's nothing I can do. Like, the sellers want to accept this. It's their decision to do. And so
you got to back up if you want it.
But the reason the phone call to your client is so important is because the phone call establishes a better relationship. And I'm not saying you don't want good relationship with your co-op agents, but it's not as important for you to call all those people back after an offer doesn't get accepted, especially when, like, let's be real. If I got 30 offers on a listing, like
most of
maybe
them are garbage,
5 of them are good.
And the other 2 or 3 that probably came in that were good,
I probably called
you
those
probably
people.
did call those people and say, you can put it in a backup and blah, blah, blah. And we'll
why?
call
Because
you
I want to keep a good relationship, because I might need them if the first offer falls through or something.
Yeah.
But you definitely, think about all the reasons why in-person or phone conversations work better. It's because they can actually hear your tonality. They can hear all the different language aspects, like body language. Okay, well, obviously on the phone, they can't see your body language, but you can sort of feel when someone's smiling or when someone's serious, or you can kind of feel that through tone.
Yeah.
But in a text or an email, you don't know what it feels like when you get an email that's just dropping bad information. It feels like the other person maybe doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like you're just a transaction to them. And I felt really bad in the moment. Now, he was a jerk.
Outside of that? Outside of that?
Yes, we did change his name for anonymity's purposes. Yes, that guy was not great to work with, period.
Yeah. Wasn't just that thing.
And maybe I didn't want to call him. I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember feeling that, but like.
Well, I was going to say, if he was like already a jerk and you weren't connecting on some level, then you probably said, ugh, I don't want to call him. I've got an open house. I'm just going to send this.
But that's a whole nother thing, right? Is how often do we avoid a bad conversation because maybe you don't really connect with the other person and you're already feeling uncomfortable with them. So you avoid calling them in a difficult time. Guess what? That's just going to erode that relationship further.
Yeah, you're just going to make it worse.
That phone call is one of the most key important. Delivering bad news via phone call is like one of the most important parts of the transaction. The good news, like, yeah, you want to deliver good news. You can do that by phone. That's great too. But the bad news, when you can help someone through the difficult moments and help them see that it's going to be okay, that's when you're really operating at a high level and you're giving them the experience that when you say, because I always say 5-star experience, what does that mean? That does not mean
there's not any problems.
Right. That doesn't mean there's no problems. We can't control everything. It's how you respond and react to those things.
Yeah. And always having a solution.
Always
is like that's what they're looking for. That's what they want. We always use the analogy of you're the guide taking people who have never hiked before up a mountain, right? So if something happens and the path is washed out, you don't say, Well, I'm sure we'll figure out where to go.
Yeah.
You can say, this happens all the time. I know this like the back of my hand. We go this way.
Yes.
And then they go, oh, okay. Because they have no idea where to go. So you have to always have a solution to whatever the problem is before you call so that you can tell them the bad news and this is how we're going to fix it.
There's and sometimes, by the way, when we say fix it, because I think this is where clients also get confused, is fix does not necessarily mean that you still close on time or you still close with that person or whatever.
Right.
I remember
maybe solution is better than fix.
Yeah.
Have a solution to the problem instead
sometimes
of fix
the solution is we got to go find something else. Right. We got to go find a new buyer. Let me tell you another quick story and then we'll take a quick break.
Okay.
I had some buyers once who were under contract on this place, and we found out 5 days before closing that there was a federal tax lien for over $1 million.
Oh my God.
And there was the seller did not have any way to pay that. And so what was the solution for my buyers?
I'm sure the seller was like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Right. They've caught everybody off. He probably knew.
Of course he had to have known.
But the listing agent didn't know.
He had to have known. And then even the title company said that it was just, sometimes things just happen. What do you call that?
Well, there's a local radio guy called Jim Phillips who's no longer working anymore, and he called it crapple.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Whenever it's just like it just is.
Sometimes it just is. And this was one of those situations the title company said they were getting ready to close. This was not in the public records, and they had just filed this right when they found it. Luckily, they were pulling the search again because it had expired.
Oh wow.
And so what's the solution for those buyers?
Yeah.
There's nothing that can be done. The seller doesn't have that money. There's no way to force him to sell. That's never going to work.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? We're going to have to cancel.
Yeah. Cancel and find something else.
And then I think what I did, because they lost their inspection money, and I think the first thing was I tried to get it back from the seller because it's like, dude, you knew.
Yeah.
But there's no way to force that either. So I think I ended up paying for their next inspection.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you do. It's like you hold on to your money. Don't give it away. Because every once in a while, there's something that you really need to do.
Yeah. Right?
You really need to take care of somebody because that's what you feel like you need to do. And that's okay to do that. 100% okay. It's like, I'm a big believer in not giving.
They didn't ask for me to do that. It was just, I wanted to.
That's when I say no. when people are asking you to give up your money for something, whether it's a co-op agent or a buyer or a seller or the other party or whatever, the answer to that is always no. But if it's your choice to do something, then you should feel free to do that.
In that situation, I guarantee there's similar situations, maybe not $1 million tax lien, but there's similar situations out there that have happened where the buyer's agent lost the buyers because their deal fell through. And the buyers thought, how did they not know that this is their fault? Mm-hmm. And the reason that happened, I believe, I'm sure this has happened to people out there. For, again, similar, but not the same reasons, where you lose a buyer and lose a contract and lose the buyer. That's never happened to me. And I think it's all back to, for the most part, except when I started to get busy and I started making shortcuts and then realized that doesn't work and I've readdressed that since then. But it's because in those bad moment situations, I'm not just dropping the bad news. Don't just call and deliver bad news. I'm providing the next steps and solutions. Right. Every phone call should end, even just on a regular basis. Every phone call should end. And then here's what happens next.
Yeah.
They need confidence that you are that guide. And the only way that happens is if you're constantly telling them what's going to happen next.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's what happens. And then you do that enough times from the initial consultation of I'll be here at this time. And then you walk through the door and you go, I said I'd be here at 4:00. I'm here. It's 4:00.
Yeah.
You're telling them I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I know what all the steps are. So by the time you get to that point where something's falling through and you say, this is what we do, they go, okay, because they trust you.
Yeah.
Right. You've earned the trust. So
do what you say you're going to do over and over again. That builds trust.
Right. So let's take a quick break.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
Okay, so like I said, from that experience of dealing with Michael, the first thing that I immediately changed was that I never deliver bad news via text or email. Do you say via or via?
Depends on my mood.
Me too. I just realized I said via and I was like, I don't think I usually say it like that. Anyways, so always doing the bad news delivery by phone, period. No other answer there. And then the other thing that I learned was that was a Sunday because it was an open house, right? When you work on the listing side, that bad news does not need to be delivered the minute you hear about it. We all have regular personal lives, or we should. And it is not a reasonable expectation that you hear about something because somebody emails or texts or calls you that you immediately pick up the phone and call the other person. You would be working, by the way, if I did that, I'd be working nonstop. I have to segment and time block and batch these kinds of things. So in a moment like that, especially on a listing, you control the time better when you have a listing. We've talked about this in our time series, actually, our season, that when you have a listing, you control your time better because you set the parameters. The house doesn't need to go back on the market 2 seconds after the person sends you the release and cancellation. First of all, the other party has to sign it. You got to talk to them about it. Then they've got to process it through title, whatever steps need to happen in your organization. So I don't worry about those kinds of things on Sunday afternoons anymore. I'm supposed to be off. You're supposed to be able to have a day off. And so when something like that happens, I pause and say, okay, that's important. I'm going to deal with that first thing in the morning so that we can get to the work on the next solution. But I'm not going to go
after lead gen.
Right. But I'm not going to go deliver bad news when I also might not be the best version of myself as an agent. If I've been working all week and I'm burning myself out, I shouldn't be delivering that bad news on a Sunday afternoon for two reasons. Like I just stated, one is that you should be able to have time off. And two is you're not your best self 24/7. So stop pretending like you are. And you want to be able to provide those solutions and have somebody like Michael appreciate that you called and are handling it and the next steps are outlined clearly. Then take a moment on Sunday afternoon to think through what the next steps are, get it all prepared, and then make that call during your business hours.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I was just thinking like certain people who feel like they have a lot of urgency in them. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that we're really talking to more than anything. Are people who are like, I got this bad news. I need to deliver right away. We need to get moving on this. Right. It's always better, I think, because that's how I am. I'm very much like that. I want it off my plate.
No, and me too, which is why I sent that email.
But you all, yeah, that's true. But you've gotten so better, and I've learned from that is it's always better to take a breath and to run through your head. What is it that I'm going to say? well, how am I going to say it? Who is this person I'm talking to? What's the best way for me to approach this conversation with this person? What is the next step going to be? What is the best way for me to explain that to that person? Let me kick this around in my head for 30 minutes. Let me kick this around in my head. I'll sleep on it. I'll come to it fresh in the morning and be able to have the conversation. Which conversation's better? That one or the one where you got the email releasing cancellation and you immediately picked up the phone to call or shot off an email?
Well, and so let's take a second and think back to that specific scenario. What was I doing? I was about to go into an open house.
Right. You didn't even have,
So
what were you expecting to have happen? You don't think that he would have immediately picked the phone up and called? Of course he was. And you'd be what? Not be able to answer? Well,
so what do you do before an open house? You're putting out signs, and inevitably you're rushing to get to the house. Like I'm an early person. I'm not a late person. And I don't like people who are, but you know, you're still feeling like a rush because you're like, okay, maybe the stop sign where you were going to park and put out some signs. There was something going on. There's some construction and you had to walk further. And like inevitably, I always feel a little bit rushed when I'm entering into an open house. And then sometimes people show up early. And so even though you're there a little bit early, it starts early. And then there's always somebody straggling at the end and it starts raining. And I'm just describing how open houses or anything that you've got going on the weekend, it could also be something personal. Maybe I'm out to lunch with some family and I'm eating and I get this bad news. Should I stop what I'm doing? Should I call after I've had a margarita?
Well, no, but
and have that conversation, or should I call right before the open house when I know I've only got 30 seconds before that person that just parked down the street is going to walk up to this door?
Feeling the urgency that you have to do that for that.
So, but my point is that even if I had nothing going on, I'm describing situations where you do and you feel like rushed and you might still make that call. Well, it's a bad move to make it then. Well, it's a bad move to make it even if you're not feeling rushed, but it's supposed to be a rest day. Like, use your business hours for business work. Now, I say all of that to say there are times where there are things that the conversations that have to be had on a weekend, like specifically if you're working with a buyer and the buyer's offer doesn't get accepted today, but there was another offer. Well, the last thing you want to do is have a buyer find out that their offer was not accepted or be confused because they see it go pending.
Right.
I hate that.
Right.
And that has happened before, especially during COVID times and I understand it, but like somebody would mark it pending before they've even delivered the news to me.
Yeah.
And then I haven't been able to deliver the bad news to the buyer. There are times where you still need to get the bad news out there.
And it depends on the news. It depends on what we're talking about. I think mostly these phone call conversations that need to be kind of had on the phone and stuff. These are happening through negotiations.
Yeah.
Right. It's like buyers understand, they put offers in on houses. Houses they accept a different offer. They usually know there's multiple offers on it and stuff anyway. When there are multiple offers, that's a different thing than this wild thing of, oh, there's a lien of $1 million on this house, we didn't know about it, or well, they withdrew and they don't want to talk to us because they found living raccoons in the there's a raccoon family living in the attic or what, and they're not interested. Like there are things that happen that warrant a well thought out conversation regardless, but they happen later in the, I guess those are unsurprising things.
Yes, but the point is that a surprise shouldn't be then a surprise to somebody else. Like, well, it's always a surprise, but all I mean is you need to plan for it. That's all we're talking about is take a minute, and more than a minute, and prepare and organize your thoughts and what are the next steps? What are the possible solutions? If it requires, because a lot of times this requires asking somebody else, like for example, that title situation, the lien. Before I called and dropped that bomb on the buyers, I made some calls to the other agent and to the title company to understand, is this something that can be solved? Because that's the other thing. And especially, let's circle back to this AI thing. Like if I drop a bomb on somebody without any answers,
they're going to search them out.
They're going to start looking for ways to get, hey, Kathryn, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if we do this?
Didn't you have somebody not that long ago send you something that was like, oh, we should do an escalatory clause or something like that, right? And it was like, oh, you got this from AI because nothing in our...
Because we haven't been using it, which means I didn't talk to you about it, which means how did you know about what that clause was? That's not common knowledge.
Right. He obviously had been using AI to come up with solutions to what will make our offer better or whatever it was. And it was like...
you have to know that people are going to use it. And so when you take an email or a text message and you just send that off, and I think you have to apply it like this. If there's a back and forth conversation that needs to happen, then it needs to be a phone call. If it's something simple like scheduling or does this time work for you, that's fine.
Yeah.
So for example, recently, somebody wanted to make an offer with like a 15-day closing. So we had to ask the seller, like, would you consider a 15-day closing? There's no back and forth to that. It's just like a simple question. Like, could you do that? Mm-hmm. Would you be okay with it? We don't even have an offer yet. I'm just asking the question. That doesn't require a phone call. But now once I get the offer, then I need to, first I am going to send them the offer, but I'm going to immediately call after to go over it. Anytime there's back and forth, I think you have to think through it. Would the client have a question about this?
Yeah.
Or is this bad news? If they have a question or it's bad news, it's a phone call, not a voicemail, not a text, not an email. And so I've changed, obviously, and I say change. I just like it was a wake up call to like, oh, why did I start thinking that it was okay to send this kind of information via email? Yeah. Well, it only happened because we got busier. And as you get busier, you look for ways to be more efficient. Well, efficiency happens through text and email, right? Everybody thinks that text is so fast. It's so quick. I can respond while I'm in a meeting, right? Like sellers and buyers, it's not, they want it. They want it. They tell you that text is the best way to communicate with them. And for simple things, it is. But I promise you, they don't want you to tell them that kind of information via text.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it is there a follow-up? If there's a follow-up question, then it has to be done on the phone, or if it's bad news, has to be done on the phone. Anything else you can kind of text and stuff. So
yeah, I think you just have to remember communication is not just written word. And so much gets lost and can be misinterpreted that every time you send a text or an email, you are increasing the chance of confusion and miscommunication.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move.
All right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple, smart thing to focus on this week. Not a giant to-do list, not something that takes hours, just one move that actually helps move your business forward. This week, we want you to choose one open house goal. You'll improve conversion through focus.
So that's pretty vague.
Yeah.
But I think you have to decide, like, if you're doing open houses, what are you struggling with that you could set a goal around? So for example, because I'm the productivity coach at my office, sometimes I'll hear that that they're not getting all the contact information. So you could set a goal to get, and hey, listen, if you're getting 0, don't set a goal to go to 100% this week. Maybe you set a goal to get 60% of all the contact information, or 75 or whatever, so that you can gradually improve. And in order to achieve that goal, you'd have to do something different than what you're doing, right? So you'd have to practice some sort of script. If you're just letting people come in and you just leave a sign-in sheet on the side and say, please sign in. Well, maybe your goal for this week is to approach them, ask for their information, and see if you can get 75% of everyone's contact info this week.
And don't forget, open house goals aren't just things that you're doing in the open house, but after you leave the open house.
Well, that's true too. You could set a goal.
There's a lot of goals that can be made around open houses, but
let me give you another one. How about call everybody you meet as soon as the open house is over?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. There's a lot. So just pick one. Do it. Work on it this week. That's your best move.
Okay.
Kat, what's your small win this week?
My small win is that when we got back into town, I actually went ahead and like unpacked the luggage right away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I wasn't sure I was going to have the energy because like I do the driving.
It's 8 hours.
It's 9
hours.
9.5.
9.5 hours.
Because we do a lot of stops with the dogs, and
it rained the whole time.
It rained the entire
home.
drive. And I just felt like when I got home, I was mentally exhausted from paying attention in the rain. But also my body was like vibrating still from driving. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this. But at the same time, I didn't feel like sitting down.
Yeah, because we've been sitting.
Yeah. So I was like, just do it.
We got everything.
Just rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I put a bunch of stuff away too. We kind of just, you'd never even know we left. Yeah. It doesn't happen a lot of times. Most of the time,
most of the time I'm too tired to worry about it.
And then the next day, and all of a sudden we're starting work on Monday and stuff sits there. So it's nice to clear.
Small win.
Yeah, nice to clear all of that up. So, and then my small win is, well, we were gone for a week. So I spent the whole from 7:30 this morning until we did this podcast, working, cleaning what happens when you leave a yard in Florida for a week through a rainstorm. And it is just a disaster out there. So I've been cleaning all day and I'm just about done. So
it looks great.
I'm going to get out there as soon as I edit this episode.
Okay, so, thanks.
Hey guys, for episode extras like the candy bag, ask us questions, or anything else we mentioned today, you can find it all at onseekingthebest.com. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think Live Be production.